18 bodies have been recovered as American Airlines jet with 64 on board crashed after midair collision.
Okay, left heading 350, 3000, American 3130.
Also 7 to C2 westbound, contact Dulles Tower 120.1.
We're urging you to please stay away from the scene.
Very large area, and there is a lot of damage. Teams have been conducting what's called grid searches. They're going.
The aircraft not only had a landing gear issue, it might have had an issue with other aircraft systems.
Plane started vibrating like horribly, not like anything normal when you land. It was.
Were diverted to other nearby airports, and also there were some delays and canceled flights as a result of the timing of when this took place.
Number 9, American Eagle Flight 5342. A tragic mid-air collision near Washington turned the night sky into a fiery horror scene, leaving 67 people lifeless in one of the worst U.S. air disasters in 2 decades. It all happened when an American Eagle passenger jet, packed with 60 travelers and 4 crew members, slammed into a military Black Hawk helicopter over the Potomac River. The impact was catastrophic. No one survived. Rescue teams have been braving the freezing waters, pulling wreckage and bodies from the crash site. But the biggest question remains: how did this even happen? Investigators are combing through black box recordings, air traffic control logs, and flight paths to piece together the final moments.
18 bodies have been recovered as American Airlines jet with 64 on board crashed after mid-air collision. The plane was carrying 60 passengers and 4 crew members when it collided with the Black Hawk helicopter, which had 3 soldiers aboard.
Okay, left heading 350, 3000, American 3130.
Also 7 to C2 westbound, contact Dulles Tower 120.1.
Among the victims were elite figure skaters from the US and Russia, a group of hunting buddies returning home, and a dedicated 3-person military crew. While officials tighten helicopter flight restrictions, grieving families are left wondering, was this disaster preventable? Number 8, Philadelphia Air Ambulance Crash. The tragic Philadelphia air ambulance crash has left the city in shock, with 6 victims identified and another person passed away on the ground. The doomed flight, operated by Jet Rescue Air Ambulance, was carrying a Mexican medical team and a young patient seeking treatment when it plunged into a residential neighborhood just blocks from Roosevelt Mall. The victims included the pilot, co-pilot, a doctor, and 3 passengers, one of them a child. Investigators are scrambling to determine what caused the disaster. The plane barely made it to 1,500 feet before nosediving and crashing at high impact, all in less than a minute. The black box was recovered Sunday, but authorities have yet to analyze its contents. Meanwhile, Philadelphia is reeling. 22 people were injured, with 5 still in the hospital, 3 in critical condition. The crash left 11 homes severely damaged, businesses affected, and parts of the neighborhood in darkness. Some streets remain closed as officials assess the wreckage.
We're urging you to please stay away from the scene.
These there are my friends. These are my family around this area, so I'm just so concerned about everybody's safety.
One was a pediatric patient, and the other was their escort. We're up for the company tells us that young patient was a Mexican national.
The air ambulance crash in Philadelphia. Late today, NTSB investigators recovering that cockpit voice recorder.
This remains an ongoing investigation. The situation is fluid and it is active.
Or others who find debris, please email.
Very large area, and there is a lot of damage. Teams have been conducting what's called grid searches. They're going.
Number 7, Azerbaijan Airlines, Embraer 190. The Azerbaijan Airlines crash on Christmas Day has sparked international controversy, with mounting evidence suggesting the plane may have been hit by Russian air defense missiles. The Embraer 190 was en route from Baku to Grozny when thick fog forced multiple landing attempts. On the 3rd try, passengers reported hearing explosions before the aircraft diverted to Kazakhstan. Video footage shows the plane struggling in the sky before crash landing near Aktau Airport, bursting into flames. Out of 67 people on board, 38 passed away, while 29 miraculously survived, many crawling from the wreckage. Russian authorities initially blamed bird strikes, but aviation experts suspect GPS jamming and missile shrapnel. Russian President Vladimir Putin has apologized but stopped short of admitting fault, while the U.S. has early indications Moscow was responsible. Azerbaijan, though cautious in its statements, is demanding an international probe, rejecting Russia's proposed investigation. Number 6. Jeju Air Flight 2216. The crash of Jeju Air Flight 2216 has shaken South Korea, marking the most fatal aviation disaster in the nation's history. The Boeing 737-800 was nearing Muon International Airport when a bird strike caused catastrophic failures, leading to a horrific belly landing and an explosion that left 179 people lifeless, with only 2 surviving crew members. Passengers were returning from a Christmas trip to Bangkok when disaster struck. Just minutes before landing, the pilots declared a mayday after colliding with a flock of migratory ducks. The aircraft skidded down the runway, unable to stop, before crashing into a berm supporting the airport's landing system. Dramatic footage captured the plane's fiery descent and the explosion that followed. Eyewitnesses reported seeing flames and hearing metal scraping before impact. Emergency responders rushed to the scene, but with bodies scattered hundreds of meters from the wreckage, the rescue mission turned into a grim recovery effort. Authorities are now investigating whether Jeju Air's past safety violations played a role. The airline had previously omitted records of a 2021 tail strike incident, raising concerns over maintenance transparency. With flight recorders partially damaged, experts are piecing together the plane's final moments.
Almost 3-kilometer long runway. Very long runway compared to most other international airports.
The last moments of Jeju Air Flight 2216, skidding on its belly along the runway, engines blowing out. The plane issued a mayday distress call and then crashed 4 minutes later.
The aircraft not only had a landing gear issue, it might have had an issue with other aircraft systems.
Number 5. Air Canada Express Flight 2259. Passengers aboard Air Canada Express Flight AC 2259 got a terrifying surprise when their plane skidded down the runway at Halifax Stanfield International Airport on Saturday night, with flames reportedly visible from the aircraft's left side. The de Havilland DHC 8402, operated by PAL Airlines, suffered a suspected landing gear malfunction upon arrival from St. John's, Newfoundland. Eyewitness Nikki Valentine described the harrowing moments to CBC, saying, "The plane shook quite a bit, and we started seeing fire on the left side of the plane. Smoke started coming in the windows." Despite the panic-inducing scene, all 73 passengers escaped unscathed, though they had to be evacuated via bus as the plane was stranded short of the terminal. While the Halifax scare had a safe outcome, it came just hours after the catastrophic Jeju air crash in South Korea, where a similar landing gear failure led to a runway overrun, ending the lives of 179 people. Number 4. KLM Flight 1204. A KLM Royal Dutch Airlines Boeing 737-800 operating flight KL 1204 skidded off the runway at Oslo Torp Sandefjord Airport after an emergency landing on December 28th. The aircraft, originally departing from Oslo, had to divert to Sandefjord Torp after experiencing a hydraulic system failure mid-flight. Though the landing itself was uneventful, the plane lost control upon touchdown, veering off the right side of the runway and into a grassy area. Fortunately, all 182 on board, 176 passengers, and 6 crew escaped unharmed. This marked the third aviation mishap in a single day, following the catastrophic Jeju air crash in South Korea that claimed 179 lives and an Air Canada flight that suffered a landing gear failure in Halifax.
Plane started vibrating like horribly. Not like anything normal when you land. It was
kind of in shock, kind of in disbelief, but the next day you realize how serious it was and it could have been.
Were diverted to other nearby airports, and also there were some delays and canceled flights as a result of the timing of when this took place.
Worse, especially with the Korea flight that just happened. If you saw the video from that, oh my God.
Number 3. Crash in Ras Al Khaimah. Tragedy struck off the coast of Ras Al Khaimah in the UAE on Sunday as a light aircraft plunged into the sea, ending the lives of both the pilot and the co-pilot. The General Civil Aviation Authority, GCAA, confirmed the fatalities and stated that an investigation is now underway to figure out what went wrong. The crash happened in the waters off Ras Al Khaimah's coastline, but details about the aircraft's final moments remain unclear. No other individuals were reported on board, but the loss of 2 lives is still a huge blow. Authorities have pledged to look into every angle to uncover the cause of the crash. Number 2. C-172 crashes at Stuttgart. A small Cessna C-172 crashed just outside Stuttgart Airport on Sunday, leaving 2 people injured and causing a major disruption in air traffic. The crash occurred while the plane was approaching the runway, only a few hundred meters from the airport. The pilot, fortunately, only sustained minor injuries, but the passenger was not so lucky and had to be rushed to the hospital with serious injuries. It was a dark, foggy evening, which likely made conditions even more challenging for the crew. Flights at Stuttgart Airport came to a halt for about an hour and a half as emergency teams rushed to the scene. Airport police immediately began investigating, and experts from the Federal Bureau of Aircraft Accident Investigation have also been brought in to figure out what went wrong. Number 1. Jeju Air Flight 7 C101. On Monday, December 30th, another Jeju Air flight encountered a landing gear issue, forcing it to return to Seoul's Gimpo Airport. This incident involved the same Boeing 737-800 model that was involved in the tragic crash on Sunday, where 179 people lost their lives after the plane landed without its landing gear. Flight 7 C101 had taken off early in the morning, bound for Jeju Island, but shortly after takeoff, a warning light signaled a potential landing gear problem. The captain immediately contacted ground control, and after a tense few minutes, the landing gear appeared to return to normal. However, the crew wisely decided to return to Gimpo for a thorough inspection. This incident has raised significant concern, with some passengers opting to stay behind rather than board an alternate flight, citing safety fears. The South Korean government has now called for special inspections of all Boeing 737-800s in the country, and international investigators, including from Boeing, are joining the effort to ensure these issues are resolved. This follows the crash in Muan, which has left the country shaken and questioning the safety of the 737-800. That's all for this video, folks. See you next time.